Okay, for C. So this one we have a vertical transformation going on because our midline is definitely not on the x-axis. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and dot that line in. It looks like it's right through -2. And I'm going to put a couple key points on it as well. I'm going to put a point at the maxes and mins, and some points where we're crossing the midline. Now again, you can write many different equations. So if you came up with a different equation than I did, that's absolutely fine. So when I'm looking at this, since my y-intercept is at a minimum, that tells me that my cosine graph is going to be the easiest one to, or my cosine equation is going to be the easiest one to write with the starting point here at the minimum. So if my cosine graph is starting at a minimum, it's a reflection over the x-axis, and it's going to take a little work here. This would be -1, that would be -3. So I need a negative in front of there. My amplitude here, the height of my curve is only 1 from -2 to -3. So I just need a -1 in front of that cosine. All right, if I do that reflection, I won't need a phase shift. So that's good news. I'm going to go ahead and deal with my midline here being at -2. That means my graph is going to move down 2 units. Down 2 units, reflected across the x-axis. The last thing I need to do is deal with the period of the function. So be careful, don't go minimum to maximum. That's only half of the period of the function. You want to go min to min or max to max. So here I'm going to look max to max, and it's 4 pi to -4 pi to +4 pi is the period of the function. So that is actually 8 pi. It's going to be the period. So just like the last problem, the math we do there, flip back, the period was 6 pi, we did 2 pi divided by b equals the period of our function. So 2 pi divided by b equals 8 pi. Multiply both sides by b, 2 pi equals 8 pi b. And divide both sides by 8 pi. So my pi's cancel, and then I have 2/8. 2/8 is the same as 1/4. So there's the cosine graph. You can always check these on your calculator or on Desmos. Desmos is, if you have a device out anyway to watch videos, Desmos is a really nice place to double check these graphs for yourself and equations. All right, so once we get the first equation written, and the second one's a little easier. I know the vertical, the down 2, the vertical shift is going to be the same. I know that the period is going to be the same for this function. So now I just need to pick where I'm going to start it and deal with that, the math that goes along with that phase shift. So if I don't want to do a reflection, that means my sine wave needs to go up and then down. You could absolutely do a reflection and just stick a negative out front and start over here at -2 pi. I'm going to do no reflection and start at 2 pi. So there's going to be my start for my sine graph. So what I need is this. Again, there are a couple ways that you can work through this, and you should pick the way that you like and stick with it. You can do 1/4 times x minus 2 pi. That takes care of that shift 2 pi to the right. The other way to do that math, again, our phase shift is b over c. I'm sorry, our phase shift is c over b, not b over c. So we want c over b here. If you're not going to do the factored form, if you're going to find your number to plop right in there with no factoring. We know it's going to be a minus because we're starting to the right. And we know b is 1/4. Now be careful here, don't multiply by 4. That wouldn't undo dividing by 1/4. You want to multiply by 1/4. So 2 pi divided by 4 is the same as pi over 2. So either of these, your parentheses can look like this, 1/4 minus pi over 2, or like this, 1/4 times x minus 2 pi. They are equivalent. All right, that is 4C.